Look at this shit. What the fuck? This is why they want us to stay in the house. This is why the fuck they want us to stay in the fucking house, nigga. It ain't the coronavirus, nigga. It ain't the radiation, nigga. It's this. What the fuck is this? What is this? What is that? What is this? Hold on. What is this? What is this? What is that? What is this? What is this in the sky right now? What's going on? They not airplanes. They doing formations and shit. Like, what's going on? For real, for real. Somebody please explain to me, man. What's going on, man? Like, this shit crazy right now. What the fuck?
The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place.
The year is 1976. An Iranian F-4 Phantom fighter jet engages an unidentified flying object. The UFO is projecting multicolored strobe lights when suddenly it releases an object that shoots toward the Iranian pilots. The pilot gets a lock on the object, but before it can be destroyed, the plane's weapons and communication systems go down. The pilot takes immediate evasive actions. Fast forward to the 2000s, Iranian F-14 Tomcats engage another UFO. This time there are casualties. The UFO evades the fighter jets and flies out of the atmosphere at Mach 10. It would seem that Iran and UFOs have an interesting history together.
The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord.
It would seem that Iran and UFOs have an interesting history together. It would seem that Iran and UFOs have an interesting history together. It would seem that Iran and UFOs have an interesting history together. It would seem that Iran and UFOs have an interesting history together.
Oh, we don't know what they want. We don't know what they're capable of.
It would seem that Iran and UFOs have an interesting history together.
We don't know what they're capable of.
It would seem that Iran and UFOs have an interesting history together. The year is 1976. An Iranian F-4 Phantom fighter jet engages an unidentified flying object. The UFO is projecting multicolored strobe lights when suddenly it releases an object that shoots toward the Iranian pilots. The pilot gets a lock on the object, but before it can be destroyed, the plane's weapons and communication systems go down. The pilot takes immediate evasive actions. Fast forward to the 2000s, Iranian F-14 Tomcats engage another UFO. This time there are casualties. The UFO evades the fighter jets and flies out of the atmosphere at Mach 10. It would seem that Iran and UFOs have an interesting history together. When you hear stories of unidentified flying objects, you may imagine a flying saucer or little green aliens. Not only that, but the person who's giving the account seems to always be someone who's not quite all there. They tend to have their crazy hair and wild eyes, but the UFO accounts from Iran are detailed and provided by respected military personnel. The information comes from the eyewitness accounts and classified documents that have been leaked to the public. The first contact between a UFO and the Iranian military occurred in 1976 above the city of Tehran. It was a cool desert night. There were no clouds in the sky. The Milky Way stretched across the heavens like an oasis in a black desert. The sound of shopkeepers closing up their stalls for the night filled the air. Then, suddenly, the skies over Tehran lit up. It was just after midnight on September 19th. Tehran residents began telephoning the local airport, frantically relaying the same message. They were seeing bright lights in the sky. The lights seemed to hover in place and then move rapidly to a different location. It was as if the lights were looking for something or someone. The military and airport personnel checked the radar, but nothing showed up. General Yousefi, the man in charge of the airfield, stepped outside and looked up at the sky. Sure enough, he saw the bright lights for himself. He witnessed the lights jetting across the sky. They looked like shooting stars being controlled by some unseen entity. He scrambled back into the airport and found his best pilots to investigate further. General Yousefi ordered Lieutenant Yadi Nazari and a backseat weapons officer to take off and have a look at the object in the sky. It was time to get up close and personal. The F-4 Phantom fighter plane took off at 1:30 a.m. and leveled off at the altitude of the unidentified object. Upon approach, the F-4 lost all navigational instruments and communications. The dials and screens in the aircraft went haywire. Nazari was flying only using his instincts and what he could see. He kept his eyes on the UFO and his aircraft pointed at the horizon. Nazari made the decision it was too dangerous to continue this way and was forced to turn around and return to base. As soon as the plane began moving away from the UFO, the instruments came back online. It was as if the UFO had some sort of electronics jammer. A second F-4 Phantom was launched at 1:40 a.m., piloted by Lieutenant Parvez Jafari. He approached the UFO and acquired a radar lock. This meant that there was definitely something tangible in the sky. The UFO was a solid mass that reflected the radar and therefore couldn't have been ball lightning or any form of pure energy. Upon getting closer to the UFO, Jafari reported that its lights were alternating in color from blue, green, red, and orange. They were strobing so quickly that they almost appeared to be solid. The UFO began to move south and Jafari pursued the vessel. All of a sudden, the UFO stopped in mid-air. It just sat there unmoving, as if the law of gravity was a force that it could choose to obey or not. Jafari veered around and stopped the aircraft so he wouldn't collide with it. He turned his jet back around and headed back toward the unidentified vessel at a slower speed. On the return approach by Jafari, something even stranger happened. The UFO dropped a bright object out from its main hull. Jafari reported that the object was headed straight for him and his F-4 Phantom, and it looked like a torpedo made of light. He attempted to lock onto the incoming projectile with his AIM-9 Sidewinder infrared guided missiles, but just after getting a lock, he lost all communications with his weapons console. Jafari was forced to take evasive actions and turn away from the projectile. He jammed the flight stick to the side. The F-4 did a barrel roll and avoided the incoming object. Jafari leveled off again, and when he turned back to look for the object shot at him, Jafari said he saw the device reverse course and rejoin the main UFO. It then seemed to dock with the mothership. Jafari then witnessed another bright object coming out of the main UFO and descending straight down toward the ground. It left a bright trail of light as it descended. The ambient light lit up an area of around 3 kilometers. Then, as if it were done with its business it came to Iran to conduct, the UFO accelerated and shot out of the atmosphere. Jafari watched as the strobing lights faded into the night sky. As the F-4 Phantom prepared to land, it experienced more communication and navigational failures. Upon further investigation, a commercial airliner in the area also reported communication failures at the same time as Jafari, but the airliner did not see the UFO. Ground troops were sent to recover the fallen object, but as they approached the area, their equipment started to malfunction. No trace of whatever the UFO shot toward the ground was ever found, as far as we know. Approximately 3 decades went by without any reports from Iran about UFOs in their airspace. Then, in 2004, strange aircraft were once again encountered by the Iranian Air Force. At this time, Iran was still using a few F-14 Tomcats that they'd purchased from America before the revolution. The Iranian military used the Tomcats to protect their nuclear facilities. Considered one of the most successful fighter jets ever built, its speed, maneuverability, and weapon capabilities make it an aircraft to be feared and respected. The encounter in 2004 went something like this. An alarm was raised when the unidentified flying object was picked up on radar. The UFO entered the airspace above one of Iran's nuclear facilities. Fighter pilots ran to their jets. Mechanics shouted at one another as they prepared planes for takeoff. The pilots were secured in the cockpits by the support crew and the hatch was sealed. The only contact with the outside world was through their helmet. Pure oxygen was being pumped into the face mask to keep them alert. Over their comms, head military personnel were barking orders. An attack on our nuclear facilities could be incoming. We need planes in the air now, the commander shouted. The Iranian pilots flickered the afterburner switch on the engine controls. The F-14 Tomcats accelerated off the runway and into the black sky as flames shot out of the back of their jet engines. As they reached Mach 2, the sonic booms could be heard throughout the desert below. The Iranian military launched 8 F-14s, 8 F-4 Phantoms, and 2 large reconnaissance aircraft to intercept the UFO. The task force encountered objects that they'd claimed had astonishing flight characteristics. One of the F-14 Tomcats tried to lock on to the brightly shining objects, only to have his radar disrupted. The pilot who was tracking the object described it as being spherical and having a green afterburn. It was recorded that whatever engines were producing the green aura were leaving considerable amounts of turbulence behind them. It was like flying through a lightning storm. The plane shook and convulsed uncontrollably. The task force swung out of the turbulent wake of the UFO and tried to flank it from the sides. Before they could get into position, the spherical object shot off like a comet, leaving a tail of green light behind as it exited the atmosphere. The eerie glow was ingrained into the minds of the pilots who were in the task force that day. The Iranian Air Force remained on high alert for any further UFO activity after the 2004 event. Then, in 2012, another strange phenomena occurred. A UFO was spotted in Iranian airspace. It did not show up on radar at first, but then all of a sudden a blip appeared. It was like the ship was cloaked and had just appeared out of thin air. The military scrambled to the F-14s and pursued the vessel, but then tragedy struck. As one of the F-14s took off, it exploded in midair. The aircraft was consumed in a fireball. The smoldering metal fell from the sky and landed in the sands below. Some accounts claim that the UFO attacked the F-14 right after it took off, perhaps using laser beams or a highly advanced weapon that ignited the fuel in the plane's tanks. Both of the crewmen in the plane were killed instantly. Reports by the Iranian government seem to suggest that the UFO had something to do with the mishap, but it's unclear the role the unidentified aircraft played in the catastrophe. Other F-14s flew after the unidentified object. Every time they tried to get a lock on the UFO, their armament systems would malfunction. The dull green light of their screens would appear to be working perfectly one moment, and as soon as a lock was achieved, everything went black. The pilots would try rebooting the systems mid-flight, but nothing seemed to work. The UFO quickly outpaced the F-14 Tomcats as it reached Mach 10, a speed faster than any aircraft currently produced can fly. It was almost like the UFO was toying with the F-14s. With the afterburners, the Tomcats pursued their enemy at a top speed of just over Mach 2. This is 1,534 miles per hour. The encounter ended similarly to the one in 2004. The UFO shot out of the atmosphere with a glowing tail of exhaust behind it. Each of the unexplained encounters recorded incredible capabilities of the UFOs. In all 3 cases, radar was jammed and weapon systems malfunctioned when the UFO was present. It seems that once the UFO left the general area, the instruments started to work properly again. You have to wonder what whoever was controlling the UFO was after. Their radar jamming capabilities seem highly sophisticated, yet they still allowed the Iranian military to know that they were there. Was it an accident all 3 times? Or was the UFO testing Iran's Air Force capabilities? Another common factor between the encounters was that the UFOs all left the atmosphere after encountering the Iranian aircraft. They seemed to launch away at Mach 10, which is 10 times the speed of sound, or 7,612 miles per hour. The closest any known human aircraft has gotten to that speed was Mach 9.68. This was achieved by a NASA experimental hypersonic aircraft called the X-43. And why did they shoot out the atmosphere instead of just leaving Iranian airspace? Was there some other vessel waiting for them in orbit around the Earth? Was there a large mothership waiting to launch to light speed once the reconnaissance ships returned? All of the accounts also mention the UFO hovering, which means that they could remain in the air with a velocity of 0. The massive acceleration it would take to go from 0 to Mach 10 in seconds is not possible with our current technology. All of the UFOs were also described as luminous objects. They emitted some kind of light, whether it was the strobes from '76 or the green afterburn glow of the 2000s. Could the lights be some sort of undiscovered propulsion from an advanced alien race? Or is there a country on Earth that's discovered an advanced propulsion system that the public is unaware of? There are several theories as to what the UFOs might have been. Iran has claimed that they were secret United States spy planes. They've also suggested that the aircraft were state-of-the-art drones that the US military was using to spy on Iran. However, the United States does not have the technology or capability for achieving Mach 10. It also seems unlikely that a spy aircraft would emit bright lights that would give its position away. Could the UFOs that Iran encountered be extraterrestrial? Is there any evidence to support that aliens have a special interest in Iranian nuclear sites? At this point in time, all we know is that on 3 separate occasions, skilled Iranian Air Force pilots encountered unidentified flying objects with advanced technological capabilities. There seems to be no definitive explanation for the UFOs encountered by Iranian military personnel. Whether the United States has advanced secret technology or Iran has encountered extraterrestrial UFOs, the 3 events still remain a mystery to this day.
The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place.
All right, so right now we're in Afghanistan, and this is a thermal imaging and thermal camera of some UFOs over Afghanistan. Right, check these guys out. So we got 4 objects up in the sky. And what's interesting is when they zoom in on it and you see what these UFOs are actually doing. This is what's really cool. They're actually dripping some kind of fluid, it looks like. Wait, what the fuck was that? Hang on, let's go back a second. Oh, what does pay attention? It seemed like something flew by there real quick. Let's see, maybe it's something that one of these things that came off of the UFO that's dripping shit. Watch this. Slow this down. Look at this. What? Boom! What the fuck was that? Son of a bitch. Well, that was fucking cool, whatever the hell that was, but let's get back into it. And so this UFO is dripping something, or some kind of molten liquid metal or something like that. However, now the military is seeing these things floating in the sky, so they call in an A-10 Warthog, who comes in and fires a Sidewinder missile at it. Now watch what happens. This is absolutely amazing. Boom! Sidewinder hits him. Nothing. It doesn't even phase him. Doesn't even phase him. Can you? But what the fuck was that? Holy fucking shit! Did you guys fucking see that? What the fuck was that? The fucking missile hits him and doesn't even fucking phase him. Not the fucking blink. It didn't fucking stop a single fucking drip. Nothing. Oh, fuck, that was cool.